Hello everyone, Kurt over here, and welcome back to another episode from Whole Federal Labs. Today we're going to be continuing on in regards to First Master covers and counters. And today we're going to be focusing on how we might get up into a position and then we go for a lower leg, which hooks underneath the bottom portion of underneath somebody's knee. Now, once again, this is another one of the ones out there I had showcased with Vincent. However, now that I have Mr. Connor here, it's going to be very helpful for me to be able to kind of walk through with this to be able to get this the way that I want it done. You'll see angles, you'll see considerations and whatnot. And on top of that, we're going to see a lot more as to why the counter makes sense here and what it actually does in other factors. So with that being the case here, let's get into it. Okay, so we are going to look at essentially Fiore's low line attack here. And again, I've done this before earlier with Vincent, where I utilize this here to simulate the leg. But we're going to be able to see a lot more easily what is actually happening here to a person's body structure as this is going out this way, okay? And I want to make a note here. Please understand, if you do BJJ or anything in the modern day martial arts out there, leg takedowns are valid, absolutely valid, and I don't think that. And I think that's something right here that we should talk about. This right here, in my opinion, is not a sweep to go into any type of ground grappling. Why would I want to with a guy holding a knife? To me, that's very dangerous. And if he's got 2 or 3 other people right there, well, while I'm working him on the ground, we have a problem here. Other thing too is armor consideration. That's another piece right here. If I'm on the ground, if this is armor on armor, again, we're seeing other faces. So again, I want to put that out there first and foremost. Again, leg shoots are great, but in the context of what Fiore is talking about here, it's less about getting onto the ground so you can fight the person. It's about putting the guy on the ground so you're in a dominant position to put them down. And that's just how I kind of see it. So that's the first portion. So again, in this case right here, Mr. Connor comes in with that dagger shot, and I come offside here with the First Master cover. And you can, man, these things are long. These are crazy long here as far as like distance-wise. And that's great training right there. So as it comes off this way right here, I'm going for the arm here. Now, the image shows I'm like this. In this case right here, this is not the time where I'm going to go straight into the leg here. It could be. Some people might argue maybe it's shock and awe. Maybe I have a really good first arm cover here. It comes in, and I go wham, and I go right into the leg right here, and I'm going into the throat. Connor's, he's, again, longer, younger than me. I think he weighs more than me, though. Point being here is I don't want to take that chance. And if you look at the system in which Fiore tells us, take the dagger away, strike them, break the arm, bind the arm, and then throw them. Well, those are the 5 concepts right here. In this case right here, we're not going to be containing anything with the arm. It is an immediate throw that is meant to put the person backwards onto the ground. And that's something right here that this footwork, everything else, will be seen again within, the counter to this will be seen later on in the manuscript. But because I'm going for, I don't have the arm, maybe I slam the arm right here, he's going back, I can already feel his body going back this way. I go right to his eyes, I hit him in the throat, kick him in the groin. Something's happened right here where he is again going backwards. That's what I think makes this work. It's not like I'm going in here, when we rush in here and fight out. Remember, every nasty, dirty trick to preserve your life. So cover's right here. I get him to go backwards, and as he does, I trace and I come up underneath. Now I stepped right here, but the reality is, for the image what we see here, pop, I'm down, and I'm going to hook him back this way. What you can't see with this right here, and this is also a testament to Connor's footwork and his own grounding mechanism right here, is he's able to stand there with one leg because he's using my posture. Someone who's hit in the eye and the response is not this, but it is, whoop, exactly. It is a back. This becomes a teetering point. The body goes back this way. And the image shows the guy like this. You're hoping that this guy, in my opinion, from what this technique is, you're hoping that this person lands on their neck. It's not a pretty situation, but there you have it. And again, for this right here, he specifically says that I'm going to go into this way right here, and as I go into this right here, you're going to lose your dagger so you can't grab it anymore, which makes sense because this person might try to let go to try to grab that to me. Again, you don't take that chance. By covering up in this, pop, in. If he doesn't let go, you still have got to be mindful of this dagger. This is not going to stop. That'll probably make him clinch even harder against me. But when I go into this and now it becomes up, now might be the thing where he's scrambling to grab, because this is a through action, not a grab. Oh, we're not talking about that. This is a through action on somebody, okay? And again, because this person is let go of the dagger, he lands on his head, falls in a certain situation right here. I'm grabbing up this way. He lands on his back. I don't know. You're trying to make this guy slam really hard. Again, if you're training this within your own schools and whatnot, please be careful with this. Again, there's a reason why we don't throw in my curriculum, because every throw is about breaking down the body structure so that they do fall and that they really hurt themselves or die. So let's talk about countering this. So in countering this action right here, this is where I'm saying the footwork in this is a big thing that you're going to see later on when we start talking about spada e due mani, sword in two hands. And it is, again, it's kind of funny because in many ways, it's amazing how Fiore, in this case, is actually talking about this lesson already, why you may not want to go to the leg unless you are already there. We'll get to that later on, but you'll understand what I'm talking about here. So in this right case, I pop in here. He goes for the face here, some long right here. The big thing right here is when this happens, I don't want, as soon as he comes here with this, because he's not going underneath the arm here, grab the leg, I'm going backwards. And then, already by holding this right here, I can feel all my legs shooting over, and I'm like, man, this is a bad throw for me. So what happens here is if the person hits you in the eyes, this is where, once again, avvisamento and your understanding of the segno is very crucial in making sure that you can counter this. So again, pop comes in, I cover right here, he goes for my leg, and I'm going to step back. And you can already tell, I actually touched the side of his head, but now because I'm here, I'm going to grab his elbow, and I'm going to pull this into him. The book shows it pulling it right into his eye, but I like Connor. I don't like the person he's representing right now, of course, historically. But in this case right here, come on.
I like my eyes too.
Yes. I like my eyes. So in here, covering, shot comes in. As soon as he goes low, hook the arm and allow this right here. Because now, by stepping back into this, the big part about this structure piece is, as soon as he comes in this right here and I step back, I have an elbow. This is breaking his structure. His arm is bent, because it's that first cover position, right? Where you're popping up with it. So because if his arm was straight, go. Now it's a little bit harder. But because he's working up in to bring that arm down. Remember the First Master plays, where you get this kind of a shape. So wait. And then he rolls in here. That bend gives me the area that I need to go for here by grabbing the arm. And the thing is here, I'm touching his shoulder. But you can already tell, if you're looking at this from the side, it looks like this right here, and it's not. It looks like this is entering the person's face. And that's because that's where the man tells you to put it. Again, knowing where to strike with the dagger is a big part about this, because essentially where you strike on target on the person is also a key component about what will put the person down quicker, faster. And again, if I just scratch his eye, again, just talking about this gives me the heebie-jeebies. Even if I just come in right here, and it comes this way right here, I step back, and it just grazes his face, what do you think is going to happen to his body? Backwards, and now I'm in. And now I'm in another position. Redirecting them away. It's like when you put somebody, if you ever had somebody put their fingers in your face here, you might be like, oh God, backwards like that. Imagine that's a dagger. That's an ugly situation. So whether you strike the person in the eye, as the maestro says, or it's an effective, maybe just grazes their face, they go like this, they're whipping around here, their body postures in different directions, which gives access to what you may need to go otherwise. So again, not a complicated situation here. Again, it is once again a look at the structure that we've been talking about before, but it is something that does warrant a lot of. It makes you have to consider, like, what are you doing here? Why do I step here? And being in this position, the guy goes for the leg, I step back and I strike from above. Again, this is a tie to in spada e due mani, a sword in two hands. If someone cuts to the leg, it is literally the same footwork. And in my opinion, it is the same concept. Fiore's mezzanis are from neck to knees. Where is he grabbing in the counter for this? He's going for my knee, right? The moment we come into this right here, and he goes for my leg and I step back, he's now lower than my knee, which gives me the access to be able to do the same thing right here. It's a leverage consideration right here. And remember, in a real fight, whatever the case may be, there's a lot of factors that we have to consider with this, okay? But again, just as far as the process of what this technique might be, that is our interpretation. So you can see with this video here, once again, that there is consideration that Fiore is having set up there in regards to how this works. And within his work section, when it comes down to performing the counter, this going into the person's body, I mean, in my opinion, they're making, once again, the 4 posta that we have in the very beginning of Abbracciare. In this case, we're going into posta longa. In having the person fall on his backside, hyperextend the knee, etc., blah, 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 all these horrible things that can happen to somebody, that's a very hard thing to recover from. And if you are in a dominant position, there's not much they can do to get out of this. And I think one of the big things about this too is that we have to understand and look at when we're doing these positions and these transitions and whatnot, there's quite a lot here this is some merciless stuff. And the fact that he's pushing backwards and driving underneath and going up, that tells us something here. Now, when we think about in the modern context where you might see like a leg sweeper driving into the leg or causing other things right here, I can understand some people might be taking him to the ground. But you got to remember for Fiore's time period, we're talking about you might be in some type of form of armor. Armor weighs stuff. And armor can be used against you. And also armor sometimes limits your movement. So again, I'm not very limited when I come to when I'm standing. But if I have a breastplate on here that has no hinges on it, and I have no way of being able to turn my torso, I can do this right here because everything's loose. But when I have a metal plate here that's on top of me and I can't do anything, that's a problem. That's a huge consideration point right there. So again, these are things right here where, some people might be out there from the BJJ community, just take them to the ground. In a modern context, I would 100% agree with you. But understand for this context right here, and even though it shows them in cloth clothing and whatnot, or linen clothing right here, army jackets, clothing, coat hardies, whatever you want to call it, I don't think it's made for just that. And he talks about that consistently, how some of these things are good for in and out of armor. So because of that, we can't just take it as we'll just take them down to the ground. Again, in a modern context, I'd be right there with you. But because the context of the time, and also, we don't know if this is a multiple person engagement. If you start ground fighting with someone right there and he's got 3 or 4 friends, your takedown just turned into a takedown of yourself as the other 3 pull you off, and it's a really bad day for you. So again, that's what the consideration. The counter to this right here is very brutal, and once again, it works with the concept similar to what we saw in regards to where we reverse and the person comes over top of the arm. It looks very similar in that regards because in this case right here, we're stepping back and allowing ourselves to drive the point right into their eyes, which of course is really brutal, really nasty, and a very visceral thing to do to somebody, especially as they think they're going down with this, and that way they're walking right into the dagger. So keep that in mind here when we look at this, that essentially that, once again here, this requires, once again, that our Segno stance, we have the awareness to be able to pull back, and that we can utilize with celerity. Our lead leg is able to step back into fortezza now. My leg is no longer in danger here. And because it's right there, I can continue on to strike this person with minimal effort. So, and that's one of the big things about this that's very, very, very important to understand. So with that being the case here, that's going to conclude the video with this right here. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed this footage. If you're new to the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. Share with a friend out there. Looking to share a lot of this concept out here and my interpretation of what these things are or may not be. Some of this may be familiar to some people. Some of it may not. But looking to expand it anyway out there to help people in their training process. If you are already one of my viewers and subscribers out there, thank you so much always for the support. I always appreciate that. Please leave a comment below to let me know what you're thinking about this stuff here. Helps me out a lot as far as making sure the content is what it needs to be for the practice of arms. And as always, everybody, please stay safe out there, train well, and fight on. I'll see you all soon.